The day after I started dating the most popular girl in school, I somehow time-traveled 10 years into the future. When I opened my eyes, a little boy was leaning over my bed, shyly calling me Dad. I felt a surge of happiness, assuming the most popular girl and I had made it. But then, in the storage room, I found a shattered wedding photo. It turned out my wife, 10 years later, wasn't the most popular girl from school. It was her. I woke up to find myself lying in an unfamiliar bed. After fumbling for a while with some model of iPhone I didn't recognize on the nightstand, I realized I had apparently jumped 10 years into the future. Just as I was completely bewildered and unsure of what to do, a small figure suddenly darted in through the doorway. I immediately flopped back down, pretending I was still asleep. The footsteps grew closer, and then a soft little hand rested on my forehead. A young, childish voice chattered on about what he'd been eating and what he'd been playing with lately. Just as I was trying to figure out my connection to this kid, his next words shocked my eyes wide open. He said, "Daddy, you've been sick for days. Why aren't you waking up? You don't like Gogo, but Gogo really misses you. Please wake up, Daddy." Dad. This kid called me Dad. My eyes flew open in an instant. I saw a boy by the bed, who looked about half like I did as a kid, staring at me in terror. Before I could say a word, the kid bolted. Oh my God, what in the world was happening? I mean, it was just last night that the most popular girl in school accepted my confession. I hadn't even held her hand yet. And I wake up to a kid this old? After the boy ran off, I immediately called my childhood friend, Leo Carter, to try and figure out what was going on. I had no idea what I'd been through these past 10 years, but my phone had pathetically few messages. Many of my old friends had vanished from my contacts without a trace. The phone rang for a while before Leo finally picked up. Before I could even speak, he laid into me. "Ethan Miller, you've got a hell of a nerve calling me." I scratched my head, clueless as to why he was so furious, and could only say, "Leo, man, something's happened. Can you come over to my place?" Leo is my childhood friend and my closest buddy. I've trusted him more than anyone my whole life. I remember one 4th of July when we were kids, a neighborhood kid thought it would be funny to drop firecrackers into a sewer, and the methane gas blew the manhole cover right off. Leo and I were the closest to it, and if he hadn't shielded me, I would have been blinded. But he was the one who ended up in the hospital for 2 weeks because of it. Hearing me stammer, unable to get the words out, Leo started to get impatient. "Ethan, are you having another episode? What? You're stewing over Ava Gardner again and called to yell at me." Ava Gardner was the popular girl who had just accepted my confession yesterday. She and Leo had never even met. It looked like a lot had definitely happened in these 10 years. I told Leo it was too complicated to explain over the phone and that he absolutely had to come see me. He grumbled and cursed for a bit, but he finally agreed. Just as I hung up, a woman knocked on the door. Who was this now? I kept my expression neutral, waiting for her to speak first. I heard her ask cautiously, "Sir, you're awake. Would you like something to eat?" So she was the housekeeper. Looks like I'd really made it big in the last 10 years. I gave a reserved nod, and soon, a spread of exquisite dishes was laid out before me. I never thought that 10 years later, I'd be living the life I had always dreamed of. I cautiously tried to probe the housekeeper for information about my wife. The housekeeper looked surprised and said my wife was on a business trip and wouldn't be back until next month. Until I knew for sure who my wife was. I couldn't ask too many questions, or I'd blow my cover. So I just had to pick up my fork and dig in. And I had to admit, it was all my favorite food. Just then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the little boy peeking in from the doorway. Realizing this might be my son, my eyes lit up, and I beckoned to him. "Hey kid, come here." He flinched and walked timidly to the side of the bed. Why did this kid seem so scared of me? I scratched my head and tried to sound as friendly as possible. "Hey little guy, what's your name? How old are you?" The boy's chubby little face was filled with hurt, as if he couldn't understand how a father wouldn't know his own son's name. "Daddy, my name is Jay, and my nickname is Gogo. I'm 4.5. Jay." I pressed on. "Gogo, let me ask you a quiz. What's your mommy's name?" "My mommy's name is Gogo." "There you are. It's time to go downstairs for your lessons. Don't bother Mr. Miller while he's resting." The housekeeper, appearing suddenly in the doorway, cut Gogo off. "Mr. Miller, I'm so sorry, I lost track of him. I'll take him downstairs right away." The housekeeper nervously came over and led Gogo away. I was still trying to make sense of the situation, so I just nodded. Ever since I woke up, the housekeeper's attitude had been strange, as if I were some kind of monster. Since I couldn't get any information about my wife, I decided to search for clues on my own. The bedroom was luxuriously decorated, but there were no wedding photos and no signs of anyone else living there. It suggested our marriage wasn't exactly a happy one. If we were already sleeping in separate rooms, were we still together only because of issues with dividing assets? When I stepped out of the room, I realized I was in a two-story suburban house. Downstairs, Jay was quietly doing a puzzle by the French doors. Sunlight streamed in, and with his long eyelashes cast down, he looked like the perfect, well-behaved kid. He didn't have any of the mischievous energy you'd expect from a little boy. I guess that his parents' relationship problems were probably affecting him. A sour feeling settled in my stomach. At that thought, I rushed over to him. "Hey son, what are you playing? Dad will play with you." I saw little Jay's eyes go wide, and he immediately shot up to his feet as if he were in trouble, mumbling a soft, "Dad." I ruffled his hair. He nuzzled my hand in surprise and delight. I felt a pang in my heart. I could guess that the future version of me probably didn't like this child very much and neglected him. Luckily, Jay was young and didn't hold a grudge. I played with him for a little while, and he was soon happily showing me his puzzle pieces. "Son, are puzzles the only toys you have?" When I was his age, I had all sorts of balls, not to mention action figures and toy cars. Jay glanced at me cautiously and said, "You used to say my other toys were too loud and you'd get angry." Me? I've always been known for being good-natured. How could I just lose my temper with my own son? Future me, what the hell is wrong with you? Just as I was cursing myself out in my head, the doorbell rang. It was Leo. When Leo walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. Was this really my scruffy, nerdy childhood friend? He was wearing glasses and a suit, looking every bit the successful professional. My eyes widened in disbelief. "Holy crap, Leo." Leo rolled his eyes at me. Jay, on the other hand, seemed to know him well, running right up and calling him Uncle Leo. Leo patted Jay's head and said to me, "Let's go upstairs to talk." I quickly led him into the study, and, before he could speak, I rushed to explain the whole situation. After listening, Leo frowned, sized me up, and asked the million-dollar question, "How do you know you time-traveled and don't just have amnesia?" I remember my last meal before this was fried chicken at the campus dining hall. I had 2 drumsticks. He just stared. I remember I had an exam 2 days before this happened, and I still remember the questions. If I really had amnesia, there's no way I'd remember details like that for 10 years, right? Leo just scoffed, still not saying a word. We were 2 guys who had been thick as thieves since we were kids. He knew me as well as he knew himself. I scratched my head sheepishly. Okay, fine. The day before, I had just confessed to Ava Gardner, and we'd gotten together. Leo's expression instantly soured, and he just called me an idiot. Then he launched into the story of what had happened over the past decade. It turned out that the me from 10 years in the future actually had a mental illness, bipolar disorder, and the cause of it was my ex-girlfriend, the former campus queen Ava Gardner, cheating on me. Leo said that after Ava and I got together, she acted completely devoted, but in reality, she was playing the field and secretly manipulating me, making me feel worthless. By the time he realized something was wrong with me, it was too late. Later, Ava falsely accused Leo of harassing her. Completely blinded by love, I turned on Leo and even threw a few punches at him. I became Ava's loyal lapdog. But when I was 27, Ava still kicked me to the curb. And the new guy she cheated on me with just happened to be my college roommate. After hearing all this, I just sat on the couch, staring into space. Damn, that's just tragic. Being a total simp until I had nothing left, and I even developed a mental illness. So what about my wife now? I suddenly remembered the one person who had been overlooked in this story. Leo looked at me, paused for a moment, then said, "It's Khloe Davis." What? I never in my wildest dreams thought I would end up marrying Khloe Davis 10 years later. I started to wonder if this was all a dream. Me, Leo, and Khloe had basically grown up together. The 3 of us lived in the same apartment building when we were little and went to the same schools. Khloe was always that perfect kid everyone's parents compared them to. She wasn't just beautiful. Her character and grades were flawless. She was well known throughout our entire neighborhood in Queens. As she got a little older, Khloe blossomed and became even more beautiful. It wasn't that I hadn't had a crush on her, but I always felt like I wasn't in her league. Besides, so many guys liked Khloe that I even passed love letters to her for other guys just to hide the fact that I had a crush on her myself. I still remember how she was cold to me for days after I gave her that letter. So even when she showed me a bit of special attention later on, I just chalked it up to our long friendship. Besides, she moved abroad right after graduation. And now Leo was telling me that Khloe had married me. The shock was like hearing the U.S. men's team had not only made it to the World Cup, but won the whole thing. In a flash, another question hit me. Leo, Jay is 4.5. I broke up with Ava when I was 27. Doesn't that mean I jumped straight into another relationship? Leo gave me a look that said, "So you finally figured that part out?" and explained, "We weren't on speaking terms back then, so I only heard this secondhand. Ava caught you and Khloe in bed together. So Jay, he must have been conceived then. How is that possible? Khloe isn't that kind of girl. Even if I lost my head, Khloe would never be that casual. Leo said, I don't know the exact details. Apparently, Ava tried to break up with you first, but you wouldn't accept it. Then she found you and Khloe together and used it as an opportunity to paint you as the bad guy. But knowing Ava's character, it wouldn't be surprising if she pulled some dirty trick. My world went dark. No wonder the room only showed signs of me living in it. If Khloe really had a shotgun wedding with me, she must hate my guts. Leo, what am I going to do? The beautiful dream had instantly become a nightmare. Leo patted my shoulder. Just be good to Khloe and Jay. Your relationship has been too cold for too long. After Leo left, I sat on the couch, racking my brain. I didn't know when Khloe would be back from her business trip. Since I married her, I had to take responsibility, even if she hated me. I scribbled down a checklist, a plan to win my wife back. I just hoped her tastes hadn't changed too much over the years. But before Khloe came back, it was time for Jay to start preschool. A private preschool like his could have stayed open, but since most of the kids came from wealthy families, many parents wanted the time off to take their children on trips. Thinking of Jay's lonely figure doing that puzzle downstairs, my heart ached. I decided I had to take him out to do something fun in a couple of days. At dinner that night, Jay sat swinging his little legs in his chair, telling me all about preschool. After spending a few days together, he wasn't as scared of me anymore. At bedtime, he made the rare request to sleep with me. He lay beside me obediently in his dinosaur pajamas. Daddy, tell me a story. I took the book. Once upon a time, there was a princess named Snow White. After the story, Jay smiled and said, Mommy is the prettiest. Mommy is Snow White. I'm going to marry Mommy when I grow up. Khloe, she really was like a princess. But Mommy already has Daddy, so Gogo can't marry Mommy. I didn't expect that as soon as I said that, Jay's mood would suddenly plummet. That's right. Since I'd arrived, I'd never heard Jay bring up Khloe on his own. Could it be that she wasn't good to him? So I asked tentatively, do you miss Mommy? Jay glanced at me cautiously and nodded. Then tell me about Mommy. A kid doesn't overthink things. He'll say whatever you ask him to. But as he talked, my expression grew darker and darker. Future Ethan, you're a real piece of work. Learned how to use the silent treatment, did you? Especially on Khloe. Daddy, what's wrong? Jay tugged nervously at my pajama shirt. I softened my expression. Daddy's fine. Go to sleep, Jay. The next day, as the housekeeper was taking Jay to school, I casually asked about our wedding photo. The housekeeper hesitated before telling me it was in the storage room. As soon as they left, I went straight to the storage room to look for it. It took me a while, but I finally found the dust-covered photo in a corner. Even the frame was shattered. In the photo, I was completely expressionless, and while Khloe next to me was smiling, the smile didn't reach her eyes. It was awful. I'd never seen myself look so miserable. I moved to turn the photo face down. If Khloe was still willing to give me a chance, I wanted to take her to have new wedding photos taken. As I flipped the photo, my movement was a bit too forceful, and I accidentally knocked over a box beside it. I picked it up and saw that it was filled with the little notes I used to pass to Khloe in school. There was even a love letter I never sent. I couldn't believe Khloe had kept all these things. Didn't that mean she wasn't completely without feelings for me? But when I thought about what the future Ethan had done, I wanted to punch myself in the face. You had such a wonderful wife and son, and you were still moping over Ava. You were truly blind. Ever since I decided to make it up to Jay and Khloe, I started picking him up and dropping him off at preschool every day. At the preschool entrance, the teachers were leading out a group of little kids. It's like kids have a superpower to spot their parents in a crowd instantly. When Jay saw me, his eyes lit up, and he waddled over to me like a little duckling. He looked up, his little face flushed, and said, Thanks for picking me up, Daddy. My heart melted instantly, and I scooped Jay up into my arms. You're a good boy. From now on, Dad will pick you up every day. Jay nodded happily. Just then, a little girl ran up, tugged on my sleeve, and asked, Mister, are you Jay's dad? I nodded. The little girl looked me over and complimented. Mister, you're really handsome. But how come you never used to pick Jay up? All the kids in class said Jay didn't have a dad, that his dad didn't want him. Before I could respond, Jay tightened his grip on my shirt, looking at me nervously. The little girl seemed to realize she'd said the wrong thing and looked flustered. I patted her head and said, I used to be very busy with work and I neglected Jay. But from now on, I'll be here to pick him up every day. Thank you for telling me that. But it's not nice to gossip about other people. Then I looked at Jay and said, if anyone ever says that again, you can tell them loud and proud that your daddy loves you very much, and he never, ever abandoned you. Jay wiped away his tears with his little hand and nodded. Back home, I could see Jay was still a bit down, so I bought him a bunch of snacks and promised him a huge present for his birthday. Jay looked at me with anticipation and said, "That's great. Mommy said she's coming back too." What? Khloe was coming back. A wave of nervousness and excitement washed over me. Khloe had always been this unattainable goddess that everyone admired from afar. And now, she was my legal wife. The feeling was incredibly strange. That evening, I was giving Jay his bath. He sat obediently on the little stool, waiting for me to rinse the soap off. "Did Mommy usually give you your baths?" Jay nodded, then shook his head. "Mommy used to help me, but now she's teaching me to wash by myself. Because Mommy's a girl, and I'm a boy, and we're different," he said, pointing to his private area. Then he looked up at me with an innocent face and asked, "Mommy said only boys have one of these. Do you have one too, Daddy?" I cleared my throat. "Daddy's isn't so little." Jay's eyes widened. "Can you show me?" "No, son, it's not that I don't want to show you. It's just, you'll understand when you're older." Soon, Jay's birthday arrived. He was more excited than I'd ever seen him. Unfortunately, the weather didn't cooperate. Just after noon, it started pouring rain. Khloe's flight was scheduled for the afternoon, and I had planned to pick her up. But I grabbed the car keys only to remember that the 10 years ago version of me didn't know how to drive. I silently breathed a sigh of relief. When it came to Khloe, I felt a strange sense of nervous apprehension, like a traveler afraid to return home. I called Jay, who was staring eagerly out the window, over to open his presents. I had 5 gifts ready for him, hoping to make up for my past neglect of his birthdays. No matter how mature he seemed, Jay was still just a kid. He was soon lost in the joy of his new toys. When Khloe walked in, I was on the floor playing with a remote-controlled car with Jay. I have to say, the toys 10 years from now are incredibly detailed. "Daddy, it's my turn. You said you'd only play for a little bit. Be good, son. Just let Daddy finish this one lap." Hearing the door open, both of us instinctively looked toward the entrance. Outside, the rain was pouring down. Khloe stood there, having just come in from the storm, her business suit soaked through. Jay yelled, "Mommy," and ran to her excitedly. Khloe stroked Jay's face, then her eyes lifted to meet mine. Our eyes met across the room, and my heart began to pound. Even before my time jump, I hadn't seen Khloe in almost 3 years. I had to admit, time is exceptionally kind to beautiful women. 10 years hadn't diminished Khloe's beauty at all. Instead, they had given her an added layer of mature elegance. She was still the same stunningly beautiful woman. "Khloe," I stammered, trying to greet her. To my surprise, she took off her damp blazer and walked right up to me, giving me a hug. Her sweet fragrance enveloped me, making my face flush. I stood there awkwardly, like a clumsy teenager. But Khloe whispered in my ear, "I missed you." In that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer and hugged her back tightly. "Khloe, I missed you too." Now it was Khloe's turn to be confused. The Ethan of the last 10 years would probably have just told her coldly to let go. It seemed I needed to find the right time to explain everything to her. By the time I finished lighting the birthday candles, Khloe had changed and come back downstairs. I scratched my cheek, unable to start the birthday song I'd been psyching myself up to sing. Jay looked sharply from me to his mother. Then he made his wish out loud. "I wish I could sleep with Mommy and Daddy tonight." I bit my lip. "That's my boy." But Khloe glanced at me and said to Jay, "A wish won't come true if you say it out loud." Her reaction instantly doused my enthusiasm. I'd forgotten that her warmth toward me just now was probably just an act for Jay's benefit. I'm not one to procrastinate. So when Jay wasn't around, I said directly, "Khloe, there's something I need to talk to you about." The moment the words left my mouth, a frosty expression settled on Khloe's beautiful face. "I'm tired. Whatever it is, let's talk about it tomorrow." I couldn't help but feel dejected. Was my suspicion right after all? She said we'd talk the next day, but from that day on, Khloe started avoiding me. It was only then I learned that Khloe had built everything we had. I hadn't had the energy to deal with company business for a long time. "Leo, what do you think I should do?" I told Leo everything that had happened over the past few days. Leo rolled up his sleeves. "Ethan, you're a real idiot. Can't you see that Khloe likes you? Use your brain for a second. You've got nothing right now. If Khloe didn't like you, she would have kicked you to the curb ages ago. If you ask me, you should just get your act together and cling to your wife for dear life." Leo, as an outsider, could see things clearly. I rubbed my nose and couldn't stop a wide grin from spreading across my face. "No way Khloe likes me." Seeing Leo looked ready to punch me, I decided to back off. He said, "You too. If one of you wasn't so reserved and the other so proud, Ava would never have been an issue. Think about it. How many guys were crazy about Khloe back in the day? And in the end, you're the lucky bastard who got her. It's fate. Back then, I always felt I wasn't good enough for Khloe. so I never dared to make a move. But Ava was the one who approached me first. But after all the twists and turns, fate had other plans. I was about to joke around with Leo some more when my phone suddenly rang. It was my old college roommate, inviting me to a reunion. At the end of the call, he added, "Ethan, if Ava hadn't specifically told me to invite you, you think anyone would even remember you, you loser?" Oh, right, you probably don't know, but Ava and I are married now. It finally clicked. This was the college roommate Leo had told me about, the one who'd stolen Ava from me. I racked my brain and finally remembered a shady guy from my dorm named Rick Peterson. He wasn't great in terms of academics, looks, or personality. In college, he was always asking roommates to grab food for him and then never paying them back. He'd get all passive-aggressive and sarcastic whenever someone won a scholarship. I couldn't for the life of me figure out how he had managed to steal Ava from me. But that was all in the past, and I didn't care anymore. Since he invited me, I figured I might as well go for the entertainment. On the day of the reunion, I had wanted to ask Khloe to go with me, but she had something else to do, so I didn't push it. Figuring a lot of people probably knew the story about Ava and me, it was probably for the best that Khloe didn't come. Sure enough, the moment I arrived, a bunch of old classmates came over to talk. Some were sympathetic, others were mocking. I looked at all the familiar faces. It felt like just yesterday I'd seen them all full of youthful energy, and now they were all so jaded. Thanks to their gossip, I also got an update on Ava. Turns out Rick's family had gotten a huge payout from a real estate deal, and he basically bought his way into her life. And now he had his own company, which I heard was doing pretty well. After a bit of a stir, the happy couple arrived. The moment they showed up, Rick made a beeline for me with Ava in tow. They were both dressed in flashy clothes, but it couldn't hide their tackiness. Especially Rick. He had a protruding gut and a puffy face, and his already average looks had become even more unpleasant due to a lifestyle of overindulgence. He casually held a glass of red wine and started in on me. Well, if it isn't the genius of our old dorm, Ethan Miller. I thought I saw you coming from the subway station on my way in. Tom's that tough, huh? I gave a slight smile. Just doing my part for the environment, you know, reducing my carbon footprint. Ha ha ha. If you can't afford a car, just say so. Don't give me that doing your part crap. You always were stubborn, old friend. Everyone here knows how you almost died over Ava and even ended up with mental problems. Ava, standing beside him, let out a couple of delicate, rehearsed giggles. I picked up a glass of wine. Yeah, I used to be pretty short-sighted. But then I got laser surgery, and now my vision is perfect. Speaking of which, I really have to thank Ms. Gardner for the favor of not marrying me. It allowed me to marry the woman of my dreams. So thanks. The classmates around us snickered, all assuming I was just putting on a brave face. I didn't bother to explain. Probably annoyed that he hadn't managed to get under my skin, Rick tried again. He continued, "So, where's our great scholar working these days?" "Me. I've got my own company now. If you're really desperate for a job, I could probably find a spot for you fetching coffee or something. I can arrange that, ha ha ha." After Rick finished, he was met with a chorus of flattery from those around him. Many people even praised Ava for having the foresight to dump a poor loser like me early on. I took a sip of my wine. "No need to trouble yourself, Mr. Peterson. I'm quite enjoying living off my wife's dime, so I'm not planning on looking for a new gig just yet." "Your wife? Who the hell is your wife?" "Probably some honey." A sudden voice cut off the vulgar words that were about to come out of Rick's mouth. All eyes turned to the source of the voice, and a collective gasp went through the crowd. There stood Khloe, stunning in a black, backless evening gown. The room instantly erupted in murmurs. "Whoa, I've never seen anyone so beautiful in person. She's prettier than a movie star. A total goddess. Compared to her, Ava looks like her assistant. Is this goddess in the right place? Who did she just call honey?" A wave of discussion swept through the classmates, and even Rick subconsciously straightened his tie. Khloe glided into the room. Rick stepped forward, extending a hand. "Hello, miss. I'm the CEO of Peterson Corp." But Khloe didn't even spare him a glance, walking straight to me, taking my arm, and saying, "Honey, holy crap, Ethan is her husband." I truly hadn't expected Khloe to show up. Looking at her face, I was overcome with emotion. I squeezed her hand and announced, "Everyone, this is my wife, Khloe." For the rest of the evening, I was the target of every man's envious stare. After the party wound down, Khloe went to get the car, and Rick suddenly blocked my path. "Ethan, I want your wife. Name your price." I glanced at Ava, who was standing beside him with her head lowered, and said nothing. Rick misinterpreted my silence and shoved Ava hard towards me. "I'll trade you." I looked at Ava's heavily made-up face, makeup practically flaking off, and took a step back in disgust. "I have to say, you two really are a match made in trash heaven. You think you're worthy of even thinking about my wife. If you don't have a mirror, don't you have a puddle to look in? Ethan, don't be an ungrateful bastard. So what if your wife's pretty? She's still stuck living a miserable life with you. It would be better for everyone if you let her spend some time with me. Just as Rick finished speaking, a Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of me. As everyone stared in stunned silence, Khloe lowered the window and said, "Honey, get in." I gave a small smile, leaving Rick standing there looking like he'd just swallowed something foul. By the time Khloe and I got home, Jay was already asleep. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to explain everything. But instead, Khloe said, "I still have some work to finish." As she turned to go upstairs, on impulse, I swept her up into my arms. She started to protest, but I whispered, "Don't wake up Jay and the housekeeper." Khloe stopped struggling and fell silent. But when we got to our room, I saw that she was crying. I gently set her down on the bed, flustered. "Khloe, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Before I could finish, Khloe cut me off, her voice choked with tears. "Ethan, you're going too far. Do you really want a divorce that badly?" "Divorce? Where did that come from?" I felt like I'd won the lottery just by being married to her. I couldn't help myself and blurted out, "Till the earth stops spinning, we're not getting a divorce." Seeing Khloe break into a tearful smile, I finally began to explain about the time travel. After I finished, Khloe said, "It's hard to believe, but it's a logical explanation. I noticed a change on Jay's birthday. I just thought your attitude had softened because you wanted to divorce me?" "Yes, honey, the me of the past 10 years was a real jerk. Thank you for never giving up on me." Khloe had come all that way just to back me up tonight. If I still didn't understand how she felt, I'd be the world's biggest idiot. Calling her honey made Khloe blush, and I took the chance to pull her into my arms and ask about what happened 5 years ago. It turned out that back then, Khloe had heard about my situation and flown back overnight from Europe to talk some sense into me. But while we were catching up, Ava happened to walk in on us, and she took the opportunity to drug us both. Then, after the damage was done, she caught us in the act. She was already hooking up with Rick at the time, but she turned it around and dragged my name through the mud. Later, we were forced into a shotgun wedding, but because of my resentment, I was always cold to her, completely wasting her love. "Honey, I'm so sorry." I was about to apologize again, but Khloe silenced me with a kiss. "I don't want to hear sorry, Ethan. From now on, I never want to hear you apologize to me again." I held her tightly in silence. "I will never let you down again." The next time I saw Rick was at Miracle Corporation. It was the company Khloe and I had co-founded, and now it was thriving. I was perfectly happy to continue being a house husband, but Khloe suggested that instead of sitting around at home, I should come work as her assistant at the company. My mind immediately went to some interesting places, so I happily agreed. Rick was hassling the receptionist when I walked by with a freshly brewed coffee for Khloe. "Just let me in. I swear I have an appointment with your CEO, Ms. Davis." "I'm sorry, sir, but I've checked and you don't have an appointment scheduled." "Then I'm making one now. I have a major business deal to discuss with your company. Can you take responsibility if you mess this up?" Well, seeing the young receptionist in a tough spot, I decided to step in. Before the receptionist could say anything, Rick turned around. When he saw it was me, he said sarcastically, Well, Ethan, now I see why you wouldn't take a job at my company. You're already busy serving coffee here." I didn't want the coffee to get cold, and I had no desire to argue with him. So I said, "You want to see Ms. Davis? Follow me. I'm her assistant now. For old time's sake, I'll do you a favor." Mumbling something about me finally knowing my place, Rick eagerly followed me. When we entered the office, Khloe took the coffee with a radiant smile. "Honey, what took you so long?" Then, the moment she saw Rick, her expression instantly froze. "And who is this?" Khloe had no memory of him at all. "Honey, isn't this Rick Peterson? The guy from the reunion who was calling me a poor loser?" Rick's portly frame trembled slightly, his beady little eyes wide with disbelief. He pointed a trembling finger. "She's CEO Davis? Ethan, you too are." Then, as if it all suddenly clicked, he slapped his thigh and started laying on the compliments. Khloe frowned in disgust. Rick's company had been hit hard by the pandemic over the last couple of years and was desperate for a major new client. Our company was his best option. Unfortunately for him, he'd messed with the wrong people. Khloe gave me a look that said it was all my call, and Rick immediately turned his fawning gaze on me. I waved my hand dismissively. A poor loser like me wouldn't dare to partner with a big shot like Mr. Peterson. Rick tried to explain, but I immediately called security and had him removed. It would have been one thing if I never saw him again, but he had to serve himself up on a silver platter. This just reminded me of how Ava had schemed against Khloe and me. From the looks of it at the reunion, Ava was completely dependent on Rick. Thinking of this, I made a call to Leo. While Rick's company was being investigated for tax fraud, I was busy planning to propose to Khloe all over again. During that time, Ava tried to call and iMessage me multiple times, but I blocked her number each time. Rick must have thought I still had feelings for her, but he didn't stop to think why I would help a gold digger who abandoned and framed me for money. I went over the general arrangements with the hotel staff. Then I walked over to Leo and offered him a cigarette. "Thanks, man." Leo took it and gave me a friendly punch on the arm. "Don't mention it. We're brothers." Coincidentally, Leo had gotten a government job right after college, and now he had just enough authority to make a company's tax audit happen. It was also Rick's own fault for not keeping his books clean. When the dust finally settles, he'll likely be in prison for at least 5 or 6 years. I booked out an entire hotel for Khloe as the venue for my proposal. The place was filled with her favorite flowers, red charm roses. When she arrived, holding Jay's hand, she thought it was just a simple dinner invitation. I watched as she covered her mouth, her eyes welling up with tears of surprise. I walked up to her, got down on one knee, and said, "Khloe, we've known each other for over 20 years. For the last 10, misunderstandings and distance made me lose you. From now on, I want to spend every single second of my life with you, cherishing you, and taking care of you. Khloe Davis, I love you, and I always have. Will you marry me again?" As Khloe slowly extended her right hand, a shower of petals rained down around us. I took her hand and pressed a kiss to it. "Thank you, Khloe. Thank you for giving me another chance." When Khloe was pregnant with our second child, her morning sickness was severe, so I thought about hiring another helper to take care of her. I never expected that one of the 3 candidates the agency sent over would be Ava Gardner. She looked haggard, and the hardships of her life seemed to have aged her by a decade. If it weren't for the photo on her resume, I wouldn't have recognized her at all. She looked at me with a desperate eagerness. "As long as you let me stay, I'll do anything you ask, sir. Your wife is pregnant, isn't she? I can take very good care of you for her." She was hoping to rekindle an old flame, but she had no idea that the sight of her just made me sick. I called security and had them throw her out. From now on, this woman is not welcome on my property. My voice was a little loud and woke Khloe from her nap. I quickly went to her side. I rushed to help her sit down on the couch. "Honey, are you hoping for a boy or a girl this time?" I held her hand. "Either is fine. As long as the baby is yours, I'll love it." Khloe rubbed her belly and smiled sweetly. I suddenly remembered a question I'd always had. How did we come up with Jay's nickname Go-Go? Khloe glanced at me, a little shyly. "I remember back in middle school, your favorite anime character was Gohan, so I ended up nicknaming him Go-Go." The ever-intelligent Khloe looked so endearingly sweet in that moment. I pulled her into my arms and kissed her tenderly on the forehead. Actually, I preferred Jay's full name, Jay. The name came from the word miracle. It was true for me, and it was true for Khloe. Outside the window, the sun was shining brightly, and in that moment, I was perfectly happy.